My name's Mitch O'Callaghan, founder of Proper Coaching and creator of the Results Beyond the Jab protocol, which is a culmination of my journey on GLP-1 medication, my learnings from my GLP-1 support certification with Future Fit, and over 10 years experience as a PT specializing in world-class body transformations and later on longevity. And I'm joined by the lovely Ellie Keates, who will be asking me a load of questions that I know you want answered, and some questions you don't even know you need the answer to. There's a lot of misinformation out there about GLP-1 medication, and a lot of people getting the so-called skinny jab very wrong. So much so that they're going to end up in worse health than when they started. In this podcast, we're going to discuss the how and why and what you can do to prevent it. So if you're on GLP-1 medication, thinking about it, or even if you know and care about someone that is, stay with us to hear about the real insights, not the Daily Mail headlines and usual social media noise. Ellie, hello.
Hello.
Thanks for joining me. I'm very excited to have you here.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
So you've been my client since the start of the year.
Yeah, we joined you in February this year.
And we got some very, very good results for the photo shoot.
Yes.
But of course, without the use of GLP-1.
That's right, yeah.
So I thought this would be a really cool conversation, because for people to get results sustainably, meaning results that stick, they need to do everything that they need to do if they weren't on GLP-1, even if they are on GLP-1.
So the nutrition and the programming and building those healthy habits.
Literally everything.
So everything that we've done, I've never done GLP-1, but I am quite interested in it, which is why I'm excited about this conversation today. Yeah, you need to instill those healthy habits, change those.
Exactly that.
Those brain pathways, I suppose.
Yeah.
Okay, so what actually is GLP-1?
So GLP-1 is a natural hormone. But when we're talking about GLP-1 in this context, we're talking about GLP-1 medication. So it's a medication that mimics the natural hormone and strengthens what it does naturally.
Okay.
Which is reduces your appetite, it slows down digestion, and that's not just meaning from eating to going to the toilet. It is also that, but there's lots of different stages throughout that process. So people just think basically it slows down how often you go to the toilet, but there's much more to it.
So it can actually prevent you from going to the toilet.
So yes, that hasn't happened when you do it properly. No, but it can happen. That's dose. Dose will determine how much it affects that, and we'll get into dose later, I'm sure.
Okay.
As a separate part of the conversation. But yes, it can slow down how often you go to the toilet, but it's more about the actual digestion process. So it slows down digestion, and that's why you feel fuller quicker when you do it.
Which is then manifests itself in you eating less.
Absolutely.
Ultimately.
So
you're consuming less calories.
Yep. So before GLP-1, I would kind of know I'm full, but still carry on eating. And when I first started GLP-1, it's really weird. I'd have a plate of never ever left food ever, even when I know I'm full. And it was just this weird epiphany moment that was like,
I don't need
I'm done.
Yeah, that's so interesting.
Even if
I think
it
a
wasn't.
lot of people struggle with that.
Yeah.
Eating past the point of being full.
Yep.
So is that why it's used for? Why is it used for diabetic? Is it used for diabetics?
Yeah, absolutely. Helps with blood sugar control, which will then help with cravings.
So that's why it's good for people with diabetes.
Yeah, absolutely.
So why did you start GLP-1? Like, what made you curious about it? Because obviously you're in amazing shape anyway. But I know that just from our conversations that you used it during a cut earlier on this year. So was it an additional tool to help you get leaner, or was it something you wanted to just experiment with? Yeah, why did you start it?
Yeah, good question. So there's a few layers to this question. So I know I don't look like the typical GLP-1 medication user. However, I do qualify. So I had a client that was on it. He started with me and he was 12 kg down in 14 weeks. And he wasn't really using me that much for nutrition and food. And I knew that he had struggled losing weight before. He'd had a few different PTs, a few different online coaches. So one day I really probed him like, mate, I've not helped that much. How can I help you more? You surely must be hungry. Can I help with nutrition? And he said, mate, I've got something to tell you. I've started Ozempic when I started with you, and I was super interested because I was, of course, interested at the time anyway. This was at the beginning of the year, so I was already interested in it because, of course, it's a hot topic. It's can be seen as either a competitor to me and what I do, or it can be used as something that can help what I do. So I was already interested in it. So I started asking him a load of questions. And he said the most fascinating thing was he just didn't fancy anything naughty, basically. So he's not a massive drinker, but he works in the city. He'd go for a few pints after work. He'd like loads of us to fancy something sweet after dinner. And he said that he just didn't fancy any of that. And I thought, wouldn't that be nice to just not want to have anything naughty? And I have had some previous experience. So GLP-1, I didn't say earlier actually. So GLP-1 stands for glucagon-like peptide. So it's a peptide, which is a chain of amino acids. So I've used BPC 157 before. I had a big motocross accident and my discs were pushing, my two vertebrae were pushing a disc, and it was protruding and pushing into a nerve. I barely slept for a week. I couldn't train legs for a few weeks. I took BPC 157, and within a couple of days, it felt 10 times better. That was the experience I had with a peptide before. So I know they're powerful, and I know that they can work. And so having good experience with a peptide before and hearing about the benefit that you just don't fancy anything naughty was appealing to me.
That's so interesting. I suppose there's a lot of talk around like celebs using it as well at the moment, so it's probably the same appeal for them. Is that how you got your scar?
This was an older one. The back thing hurt so much more than this. So like bones coming out here and here.
Was that a motocross accident?
That was motocross, yeah. But yeah, this looked worse. You couldn't see this one, but it was debilitating.
Oh, yeah, I can.
I literally just laid there staring at the ceiling for 6 nights.
Just not
because of any move. It was just the discs, the vertebrae push the disc would push the nerve.
Anything to do with your back is...
Yeah, it was horrible. And literally within a couple of straight away, within a few hours, it was less inflamed, so it was less uncomfortable. And within 3 days, I was able to the discomfort. I was in strong discomfort all day, every day. And within a couple of days, that had gone.
Did the hospital suggest it?
No, it's not yet approved. BPC 157. So GLP-1 medication is approved. Semaglutide, tirzepatide, liraglutide. It's not really spoken about as much, that one. Retatrutide is not yet approved. We'll get into that later maybe. BPC 157 is not actually yet approved by the UK governing body. You can buy it legally online. They just specify this is not yet been. I think they say it's for animal use. It's not been FDA around, approved,
but the UK version.
Yeah, UK FDA, yeah. But it's been around in high-level sports for a long time. When you see these footballers that do an Achilles or an MCL, and that's usually months and months and months, and they're back within 4 weeks. And there's different rules on different sports. UFC, they can't have it. Any combat sports, they can't have it because it's kind of goes into that performance enhancement drug category, even though it's a peptide. But some sports people... So
it'd be classed as doping?
Yeah, in a lot of sports, yeah. But in some sports, no. So it's, even though it's not approved, I know it's safe. I knew it was a good source. And yeah, because of how powerful it was, and then with the benefits that my client said, I thought, I want some of that. And that's why I started it. It's different to why I'm now doing it. But again, we'll get into that, how they differentiate later on.
That's good. Can you tell us a bit about your personal experience taking GLP-1?
Yeah, absolutely. A little disclaimer here, because it's going to sound like I'm selling people doing GLP-1 medication. I'm not a doctor. I'm not qualified to prescribe or provide, and I won't do either. However, my experience was very, very good. So I'm actually on my second cycle of doing GLP-1 medication. The first time around, I did 12 weeks. I lost 11 kg. A tiny little bit of that was muscle, but that's actually normal even if you don't do GLP-1 to lose a tiny bit of muscle when you lose that amount of weight during a cut. Yeah, I actually call a cut muscle preservation because we're trying to preserve muscle, especially when you get the leaner stages. By the way, if someone's obese and they go to overweight, they should be able to maintain muscle pretty easily. But when I was sub 10%, so it's normal to lose a tiny bit of muscle. in those later stages of a cut. But the coolest thing and the most important is I was the healthiest I've ever been, and am the healthiest I've ever been. I get my bloods done twice a year, and 250 biomarkers. I did them at the end of the first round on GLP-1, and I was the healthiest I've ever been across all of the different biomarkers.
That's so interesting. Did it test hormones and stuff as well?
Yeah. So my testosterone levels were higher than they've ever been. I get them done, as I said, twice a year for the last 5 or 6 years. They're always between 18 and 21. And this was the first time over 21. It was 22, which is pretty good for my age, where it should be, really. But the most important thing is it increased from as a result of being on GLP-1, but not directly from GLP-1.
So do you think how does it affect your training?
Good question. So it would depend on GLP-1 medication directly won't affect your training either way. It's your actions and your behaviors when you're on GLP-1. So if someone doesn't eat, which is easy to do, by the way, on GLP-1, their training will be crap, right? Because they're not fueled. However, if you use it right, then it can improve your training compared to if you're if you're on GLP-1 medication, you're looking to lose weight, right? That's the main reason
goal.
someone would do it. So if we compare being on GLP-1 in a cut and to being on a cut without GLP-1, it can and if done properly will improve your training performance and your training efficacy. And the reason for that is, let's say I'm cutting on without GLP-1 and I'm on 1900 calories. I will save, and this is what I've done typically on every cut that I've done, and I've been in very, very, very good condition without GLP-1. I would save 300 to 400 calories for stuff that isn't whole foods and pure, as nutrient dense foods as possible. So really I'm on 1500 calories.
So like a treat.
Yeah, exactly. But that's more like, you can have a treat that's 100, right? I'd always save 3 to 4, or I'd be like, right, I'm on 1900 calories. I'm going to track 1800 and I'm going to have a couple of cappuccinos.
Yeah.
Cappuccino's not the worst thing in the world, but it's not really adding much to my nutrients, right? It's not really doing anything for me. So if I'm on 1900 calories and I'm saving 400, let's just say a brownie after dinner, I'm on 1500 calories of nutrients, right? Because there's not much nutrients in that brownie. Whereas when I was on GLP-1 and I was on 1900 calories, I didn't want the brownie, like genuinely didn't want the brownie. Still had something sweet after dinner, but that would be 0% Greek yogurt, blueberries and some walnuts. So then I'm actually getting nutrients from my sweet thing after dinner and having 1900 calories of nutrients. So, okay, that might not sound that different, 300 to 400 calories per day, but multiply that across 1 month, 2 months,
a 12-week cycle.
3 months, 12-week cycle, that adds up, right? Yeah. So I was beating my numbers well into my cut, usually, as you know, from our program. So I'm on a program trying to beat my numbers. In a surplus with recovery, you should be able to beat your numbers. Yeah. Usually in a cut, a few weeks in, like you're fighting to beat your numbers, you might match them. A match them might be win. I was beating my numbers well into the 12 weeks, and it wasn't until the last couple of weeks that I wasn't able to beat my numbers. And that is because, and that's how we grow muscle, by the way. We have to stimulate the muscle more than it's been stimulated before. We can't measure stimulation. We use the numbers and the program to gauge whether we are stimulating the muscle more or the same if we're trying to preserve muscle at the end of a cut, let's say. So my training was better when I was on GLP-1 than any other cut I'd done before where I wasn't on GLP-1.
You said about the apart from the last couple of weeks, is that because you drastically reduced your calories before like a photo shoot or something, like how I did in my programming? Yeah,
it was a little bit before that. Right. That did affect it, which that always will.
Yeah, you're always going to then struggle to push more weight.
Yeah, so it's just the deficit kicked in eventually, but it kicked in later than it would have done if I was having some beers on the weekend and the half a pack of biscuits after dinner, because I had more nutrients in me, and therefore I was fueling my training better and recovering from my training better.
How did it impact your sleep?
Good question. My sleep was better because I wasn't having that naughty stuff
Yeah.
after dinner, right?
The sugar at night.
As I said, I was having the 0% Greek yogurt with blueberries and walnuts. That's not going to spike my blood sugar
Yeah.
as much as the half a pack of biscuits, right? It's a bit of, there's some sugar in blueberries.
It does impact sleep.
Yeah, absolutely. There's some sugar in blueberries, but there's also some fiber, and fiber dampens the effect of sugar when we're talking about spiking your blood sugar. I wasn't eating as close to going to bed as well because I didn't want to. I was satisfied. So if you eat too close to bed and it's still digesting, that can affect sleep.
So did it help you sort of fast for longer then, would you say, as well? Which obviously naturally increases your ghrelin, which suppresses hunger. Have I got that right?
Nearly. The other way around. But I'm glad you asked it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. No, absolutely. It's super, super easy to fast. I'm more of an evening eater anyway than a morning eater. But when I fast without GLP-1, which I've done before, and there are benefits, and maybe we'll get into that, I'm hungry come 10, 11 o'clock earlier if I've been in a deficit for longer. On GLP-1, it's easy to go much later than that and not eat. So yeah, you are reducing your eating window, which then that's when what you mentioned comes in. So when we fast, when it gets to about 16, 17 hours, our leptin becomes more receptive, which is one of the hunger hormone that tells us we're full. So it actually works similarly to GLP-1. If your leptin is more active, we know we're full sooner than if our leptin isn't as active. Ghrelin's the one that tells us we're hungry, and it's and ghrelin's lively.
So it's like that mind to
that's it
stomach connection.
You got it. Ghrelin's lively. So when we have sugar, so everyone says, oh, there's always room for dessert. You could have like a massive steak, potatoes and veg, and you're full.
Yeah.
If you're in a restaurant and there's a nice brownie on the menu of some ice cream, you're full, but you could eat it. As soon as you have that first bit of brownie and ice cream, ghrelin wakes up, let's say, and your body's going, yeah, I'm hungry, even though we know we're not, but you still want to eat it, right? When we fast, leptin is more receptive, so it's like the opposite hormone, and we know we're full sooner. So yes, it's easier to fast on GLP-1 medication, and then these other natural things are still going on.
So it all has a compounding effect.
Exactly. They're just amplified.
So how did you feel on the first cycle that you did, the first 12-week cycle that you did?
So it felt incredible. One of the biggest things for me, and one of the things that no one really speaks about, is my focus was so much better. Because of everything we just spoke about, I had more bandwidth to think about work and everything else because the food noise is not there. I'm not having something sweet after lunch and spiking my blood sugar and then energy crashing and not being able to concentrate. So yeah, I felt great, but as I felt great as a result of all of the actions and behaviors I was implementing due to them being easier to implement because I was on GLP-1 medication.
That's so interesting because I feel like when people are trying to lose weight, especially if they're tracking their calories, I say people, let me own this. This is how I felt. I felt like it was taking up a lot of mental space for me. So it's interesting that it like shuts off that food noise and then allowed you to focus more. I bet you wouldn't have even thought that would have been one of the effects of it.
No, definitely wasn't why I started, as I mentioned. GLP-1 medication is so paradoxical. It's the perfect paradox, if that's even a thing. For example, the reason I've said that is because what you just said, right? It's taking it it's given me more bandwidth, whereas usually a cut gives you less bandwidth because you are hungry and craving those things. And then if you are having, like we spoke about this, right, on your check-ins and around the photo shoot and stuff, when you have something a bit naughty, we want more of it because of the ghrelin thing that we just spoke about. But then the reverse effects, when we don't have it, we don't want it as much.
Yes. Yeah.
So absolutely, when you're on it, it gives you more bandwidth. If you're wanting to lose fat, then yes, it takes up a lot of brain power for some people. And this just completely, I don't want to say completely takes that out of the equation because we should still be thinking about nutrients, but just the pressure of having to stick to the calorie deficit is less because it's so much easier.
So did you find that during that first how instant was it as well, like from when you started taking the medication? Like was it literally like a day in, 2 days in, a week in?
It's pretty quick. I've always taken it at night, and it always in effect by the next day.
Did you still have any sweet, sugary, fatty, hobby foods while you were on it, or like you just didn't even fancy it?
So I eat well, very well, nice things, but healthy nice things.
Yeah.
So yeah, I still have nice stuff. It's just no processed. Certainly no ultra processed.
Yeah. Interesting. You're selling it. Did you make any mistakes while you were taking it?
Yes, this is actually a funny question. Well, funny story, I should say. And that question follows on nicely from what we just spoke about. My mistake was I didn't eat enough bread. My whole life, my whole adult life, and before that, I'd always have on average 4 to 6 bits of bread per day. But
4 to 6?
Yeah,
you love your bread, don't you?
I love a sandwich. I like biting into something. I love burgers. I love wraps.
You're like my partner. He bloody loves bread.
But good, like Ellie, good bread, right? I'm not talking like Hovis white.
Yeah.
Like
a nice
good
sourdough.
Yeah, good sourdough,
Yeah.
good seeded granary.
Yeah.
So that's not the devil, by the way. A good bit of bread or sourdough has 4 to 5 grams of fiber in it. So I've never had to worry about getting my fiber intake because I'd always have 20 to 30 grams of fiber from bread per day. I would also eat a lot of fruit and veg. So then that's taken me well above the 35, 40 that I aim for. When I started GLP-1 medication, because the goal was, I was in a fat loss phase, because the goal was a calorie deficit, and even though bread's not the devil, you don't get the most bang for your buck in terms of food volume and calories. It was easy to, even though I love it, even that was easy to cut out. So I did, and I had a little bit more fruit and veg, but not enough. So I was tracking. I knew my calories. I knew my protein. I knew I was getting my good fats in because all that is super important. I didn't track my fiber because I've never had to. I've always just hit it with my normal diet. But I didn't factor in that I was 20 to 30 grams of fiber down due to not having much bread. I wouldn't have none. I'd have maybe 1 or 2. So I was, let's say, 20 grams down. And I was deficient in fiber. What happens when we're deficient in fiber is that we can cause some digestive issues, and we're not able to utilize all of the other nutrients which have lots of other functions. So that was actually why towards the end of the cut, my energy started dipping, even though I was still having more nutrients at that stage compared to the same stage in a deficit or in a cut. If I wasn't on GLP-1, I wasn't able to utilize those nutrients. So that's when the training dipped off a little bit. But luckily I caught it pretty quickly. Made sure I got my fiber in
instead of the bread. Did you have like other whole grains or like?
Yeah, all of that stuff. But also the main difference was psyllium husk. It's a supplement.
Oh, yeah, I saw you post about that the other day.
Yeah, so it's basically pure fiber. It's natural. When we're talking about fiber, people always talk about the different beans, legumes, and of course fibrous carbs. Just on that point quickly, there's more fiber in starchy carbs typically than fibrous carbs, which I know sounds ridiculous, but think about a bit of broccoli. Think about how low calorie that is. When something's, even though calories and nutrients, there's not a direct correlation. If something's got really low calorie, it can't have that much of anything in it, right? Because nutrients, macronutrients mainly, make up the amount of calories.
Yeah, so you'd have to have a lot of it to make up the...
Yeah, exactly. So there's 4 calories in 1 gram of protein. There's 4 calories in 1 gram of carbs. There's 9 calories in 1 gram of fats. Macronutrients do determine, but yeah, they have a big influence on the amount of calories something has in it. Fiber's not a macronutrient, right? It's a micronutrient. Mm-hmm. Say broccoli or lettuce hasn't got barely any calories in it, right? So it can't have that much of anything, including fiber. So psyllium husk is 8.8 grams per 10 grams serving. So it's basically 88% fiber. Whereas when we're talking about how to get the fiber, people talk about chia seeds and flax seeds. And yeah, that stuff's great. And it is fiber and it's good for us and it's got some good fats in too. But chia seeds is, I think, 4 or 5 grams in a 10 gram serving. So it's half of psyllium husk, and the same for flax seeds.
Is it that kind of consistency? Like you would add it to like yogurts and smoothies and like you would chia seeds and flax?
Yeah, absolutely. It goes super thick though. So I just have it first thing in the morning.
When you add liquid to it?
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
absorbs all the right.
Yeah.
okay.
So I have it first thing in the morning so that I'm having it before my coffee, because at the moment I am fasting. So I don't want to have too many, I don't want to have coffee on an empty stomach. So I have psyllium husk in the morning, 15 grams in water, blitz it up with one of those coffee frothers, not the posh ones with the air, but you know, the ones that just spin.
Yeah.
So cold water, 15 grams, blitz it up
Naked.
and chin it straight away. It doesn't taste nice, but it doesn't taste bad.
Could you mix it with like creatine or?
You could do. You could do. By the way, creatine on empty stomach isn't great.
Is it not?
It wasn't. I only found this from when I had the digestive issues because of the fiber deficiency.
Oh,
If it doesn't cause you any issues, it's fine.
How
But
would I
for
know?
me, if you need to go to, if it goes straight through you and you're then therefore not absorbing it, creatine pulls water into the digestive system, and then it might go straight. If that doesn't happen, you're
No.
fine. It happened to me. I just randomly, I have a morning routine, morning ritual, and for some reason I took creatine before anything else, and just water come out of like, just
No,
water,
that
just
doesn't happen to me.
then you're fine. But if anyone takes creatine in the morning on an empty stomach and then they have issues with going to the toilet, just don't do it on an empty stomach.
I normally have it with just like electrolytes that it tastes something.
Yeah. For most it's fine anytime, but I recommend, just to be safe, if on GLP-1, that's what we're speaking about, any other time apart from on an empty stomach.
There you go. I've learnt something else new today. So there's a lot of talk in the media and on social media about people just putting all of the weight back on when they come off of GLP-1. So did that happen to you? Is that normal?
So what happens when you come off will largely be massively influenced by your actions when you were on it. Didn't pay any attention to nutrients, resistance training, all of the habits, you'll highly likely put on all of the weight, and then worse, which we'll get to. GLP-1 doesn't make you lose fat, doesn't make you lose muscle, it doesn't reduce bone density. GLP-1 makes sticking to a calorie deficit easier. So if people just take GLP-1 and think that that's the answer and don't install any of the habits, then they will put on the weight after, because as soon as they come off, they've not learnt those habits, right? They've not actually learnt how to do it properly. So that's what I meant when I mentioned to get results that stick on GLP-1, you have to do everything that you would have had to do without if you weren't on GLP-1. So people that have always struggled to get results, that are now just taking GLP-1 medication and not changing anything, they will end up in a worse position than they started, because they will lose weight fast, they'll lose muscle, they'll be undernourished, they'll be deficient in lots of nutrients. And when they come off, they haven't learned how to do it properly. So they will therefore put the weight back on at a faster rate. They'll have less muscle, so their metabolism will be lower, and they're going to run into a whole host of problems. So that's what I mean when I say GLP-1 is a tool, not the answer.
So what happened to you when you came off of it? Obviously that didn't happen.
I'm glad you asked. I wanted to prove that what I just said was the case, and it's not inevitable that you put the weight back on. So I lost a further 1.8 kg in 4 weeks. So it's a little bit slower than before, because it's harder, as I've said. Not lied about the fact that it makes it easier. It does. The weight loss slowed down a little bit, but I carried on losing fat, and lost an extra 1.8 kg and finished off my cut to prove that it's possible.
And how long did you leave between, because you said that you're on your second cycle now. How long did you leave between the first cycle and the second cycle?
Good question. So, had a few holidays. The reason I'm back on is I'm actually using my body as an experiment, because there's lots of misinformation out there and there's lots of misconceptions out there, because people don't understand the mechanisms of GLP-1 medication to start with. But even the people that do understand the mechanisms of GLP-1 medication, they don't understand the mechanisms of effective training and effective fueling your body and recovering from training. Like, there'll be doctors that understand GLP-1 medication, but better than me, right? Would you go to your GP and ask him for a training plan? If you picture your average GP, do you think
exactly the epitome of health themselves?
And what do you think their diet's like to look how most of them look, right? So I'm using my body as an experiment to try and fill in the gaps that I believe are missing. Most of the information out there is based on the studies, which you would think is a good thing, but the studies were done on obese people who were given no support on nutrition, training, and good lifestyle habits. What do you think obese people are not very good at?
Lifestyle habits,
Training, nutrition, and good lifestyle habits, right? So all of these, 2/3 of people put on the weight straight back on, or 1/3 of the weight that you lose is muscle. Yeah, if you literally don't even think about training and nutrition and installing the good lifestyle habits,
and just trying to use it as a cheat code.
yeah, using it as the answer, not as a tool. So that's why I'm back on, and yeah, the experiments are running. The first one is, I believe that the licensed amount is far too aggressive.
Too high.
Absolutely starts too high and it goes up far too aggressively. So for anyone that doesn't know, the licensed amount is 2.5 mg per week, and it goes up 2.5 every 4 weeks. So 5 mg per week from week 4 to 8, from 5 to 8, 7.5, then 10.5, 12.5, then 15. So I couldn't get my head around why it went up so fast. And also, I've got 7 or 8 clients who are on it at the moment. It could be much more, but I've not pushed this onto anyone. I've not even suggested to anyone. I've waited for people to ask me. But I've been having tens of conversations with people online since posting about GLP-1, and everyone says that even when they were losing lots of weight, they were always encouraged to go up, even when some of them resisted it. And I always thought, why? I couldn't get my head around why they were doing it. And now the prices have gone up. And this is a whole new conversation. But I honestly believe there's some sort of conspiracy there, because I thought, why would they, surely these providers want to help people. As a good person, you assume everyone's the same, because the higher dose didn't used to be more. So I'm like, why are they telling them to go? But now it is, and quite significantly more. So I'm like,
so who's telling them to go up?
They're providers. So I've had people that have gone to their provider and gone, I'm losing weight on 2.5 kg. And by the way, they don't ask them any questions. They don't say, how's your energy? How's your sleep? Are you getting your nutrients in? Are you able to eat? How was your appetite suppressor? They're like, people going to their provider and saying, I need a new pen. That's how it comes, in a form pen that's preset to the 2.5 or 5. And the provider will go, oh, you're on your 4th week, so you need to go 5. And they'll go, but it's working. And they are actively encouraging. This is not a one-off situation. This is the vast majority of people I've spoke to are telling them to, not even my clients, tens of conversations I've had with people online. They're all encouraged to go up, and now the price is more, which is a whole new conversation. Yeah, a whole different conversation. However, I have a theory as to why it goes up so much. So I did 2.5 mg. And I just practiced all the good lifestyle habits. Yeah, we'll talk about microdosing later on. So maybe I can cut it out of some of the chat, depending where I'm going to post it, because I can't talk about microdosing. We'll have a section on that later. So we can just put this one on Instagram, because Instagram doesn't like microdosing. So no, I didn't do 2.5 mg for the duration. I actually started on 1 mg. But on my second time around, on one of the times, I took 5 mg of tirzepatide. I practiced all my good lifestyle habits. I just ate good food, which is easy to do so on GLP-1 medication. I trained, I did a bit of cardio, and I didn't need to, I felt the effects for 9 days. So it stays in your system for around 7 days. So to start with, that was good. It proved to me that everything I'm doing, it's making it habit. It's not just taking out the food noise. It's more than that. I did it on the 8th and the 9th day. I didn't want to have the brownie or the half pack of biscuits with dipping in my tea after dinner that I'd had most days of my life until GLP-1, which is good. I then took 2.5 mg it was actually on the 10th day. And the next day, I thought, I'm going to test this. I just ate high calorie things. So there's a new restaurant opened up by me, and I walked past and I realized they did a brunch, and I thought, so it was all good stuff. It was good ingredients. I'd just had a coffee. So I had a smoothie, which was healthy stuff, but it was high sugar. It was probably 300 or 400 calories, and probably 50 grams of sugar. So it's good, but it was high sugar. Then I had the rest of that day. I think I had a nice almond croissant. I got a takeaway for dinner. I had half a chicken and chips. Also, so not the worst stuff in the world, but stuff that I wouldn't have typically when on GLP-1 medication. The next day I was hungry, and I was like, this is day 2, day 3. Yeah, this is the day after. So I took the medication. had that food. The next day I was hungry. The GLP-1 medication had lost its effect. And this is why I tested it, because what you have when you're on GLP-1 medication will affect the efficacy of the medication.
And this was at what dosage?
Same dose. I just changed my actions, my behaviors, what food I had, which is what I thought. So I was happy that happened, because I'm kind of like proved to myself that the theory was right. Because people are starting on 2.5 mg, because that is very high, in my opinion, they can't eat for a few days, and they're not eating for a few days, and because it's easy to not eat, and because they know that to lose weight you need to eat less, they just don't eat. But then the GLP-1 medication effect wears off, and they go, I'm 4 kg down in a week. It'd take me 6 to 8 weeks of being good to lose that. Without it, I'm gonna have a Domino's with all the trimmings, with the Ben and Jerry's and the cheesy garlic bread, all that good stuff. So they have that, and then 2.5 mg is no longer as effective because they've had that. Then they go up to 5 because they go 0.5 doesn't work anymore. So they go up to 5 mg, because that's the licensed amount, and because the providers are encouraging people to do that, and they absolutely can't eat for 5 or 6 days, because 5 mg is very, very high. If you're on, in general, it's very high. But if you're on your 5th or 6th week and you take 5 mg, like I've done it for a total of over 20 weeks and I'm still on 2.5. So 5 is double that. And they've been doing it for a third or a quarter of the time.
When you say they can't eat, are they not eating at all? Or are they just eating very, very low calorie?
Depends on the person, but there's stories of people not eating anything for 5 days.
For 5 days?
Yeah. Because it's easy to do so, and they don't understand that food isn't just calories. Food is nutrients.
Yeah.
And we need nutrients for every function our amazing mind and body does, and energy, and to concentrate on work and our careers and give our time and energy and presence to our families. They don't understand that, but they like seeing the scale weight go down. So they're not eating, and then all of a sudden they go, it wears off. So they go, now I'm really hungry. So let's say they're on 5 mg now. They eat a load of crap, but the weight's still down for the week, even though it'll be higher that next day than that day. They've still lost weight that week because they've not eaten anything. But then same thing, that dose then becomes less effective. And I genuinely believe this is what's happened on the studies, and it's why the licensed amount is the licensed amount, because the people weren't given, as we said, these are obese people who aren't typically, bit of a generalization, there's some very healthy, knowledgeable on nutrition and training, overweight people, but in general, obese people are not good at training, nutrition, good lifestyle habits. They were given no support. So they were managing all this themselves without the knowledge. And then, so all of the licensed amount and the protocol is based on the information they have, based on I say the feedback, but they weren't asked much They weren't asked about their energy and their appetite suppression and what they've eaten. It was just the weight loss. Because they were losing weight, they went, right, this works. Let's 2.5, 5, 7.5, 10 every 4 weeks, which is ridiculous if you think about it, right? Imagine if you could, let's use you as an example. Imagine your split squats. If you're on 25 kg dumbbell and you could do 10 good reps, hard but good form, and then went, okay, here's the 50. What?
Yeah.
Double?
Yeah.
Or if a lad can chest press 25 kg dumbbells, like that'd be pretty strong. Here you go, mate. You can do 10 reps on 25. Here are the 50s. What?
Yeah. Why would
when you put it like that,
increments be that big?
Yeah. So yeah, that's why I'm doing, to actually answer your question, it's why I'm doing it this second round. I don't need to. I've now built the habits in that I don't even want to have. When I came off,
that's what I was going to say. Like when you were off it in between the 2 cycles, do you ever crave ultra processed food? Or if you did have it, was it just a case of you would just have like one bite of something sweet and be like, that's fine, like it's done me?
I won't pretend to be like completely immune to that stuff and the perfect human, have the perfect diet.
Yeah.
I've had naughty stuff since coming off, and even I've had naughty stuff the first time around. I barely had anything. This time because it's more of an experiment, I am having some of that stuff, but it's much, I could not much more easily. Most importantly, or I think to answer your question in the best way, when I first come off and I was proving it's not inevitable that you put the weight back on, I genuinely wanted the yogurt, berries, walnuts, flax seeds more than the naughty stuff that I've always had. That was a really nice.
The satisfaction of eating the healthy food,
Yeah,
and like knowing that it was fueling your body and making you feel good.
Yeah, it become a habit. So and back what you just said is bang on, and so much so that I wanted that, not the crap. Whereas usually, ridiculously, we sometimes want. I love a pink lady, but if there's a pink lady and a grenade bar, and it had no other, and I could just pick, I'm gonna have to, like, protein aside, by the way, I'm gonna want the grenade bar. Whereas really, if I think about it, pink lady's nicer than a grenade bar.
Yeah, I do.
There's
think
like
that
some
sometimes when I'm craving something sweet, and it's like, and then I have like the next day I'll have like some fruit and nut butter, and I'm like, I really like eating this. So why do I even want the sugary food?
I think we all have that weird rebellion.
Yeah.
In our, or most of us do, right?
That's what it is. Yeah, it's almost like, fuck you.
Yeah.
Fuck you. I'll decide what I want to eat.
The hero and the villain, right?
Yeah.
To use Ali's analogy, or Ali's program. So yeah, second time around, using my body as an experiment to fill in the gaps.
So this all sounds super positive, but obviously your business Instagram page very sadly got deleted back in July. Why did it happen?
So it's because I was talking about microdosing, which isn't yet licensed. I believe it will be. I believe I'm ahead of the game, to be honest, based on a lot of the things we've just spoken about. But the red flags were that I was talking about microdosing, and because I'm talking about it in a positive light, it seemed like I was promoting it. However, even though I was putting disclaimers on all of my captions saying that I am a knock doctor and I'm not qualified to prescribe, nor will I prescribe or provide. Also, I showed myself injecting. There were some really big accounts that were doing that, so I didn't think that was going to be a problem, but it was. And then lastly, which was one of the biggest ones, the most interesting ones, I was calling out a couple of accounts, but one in particular, there's this actually very attractive Latino female doctor that's based in New York, that all of her content is her in a nice little doctor's lab coat with some cleavage, saying a statement or having a text caption on the statement pointing to the caption. The caption was just clearly ChatGPT, the long dash, one of them every single paragraph. And I mean, I don't do that because I want people to have my tone and my language, but a lot of people are doing that. That's not a problem. My issue was that every single caption contradicted previous captions. So, and guess what? She's selling GLP-1 and she is qualified, apparently, and licensed to do so. So she'd do one caption, the one post would contradict the next. So I started asking her questions on the comments, trying to get her to answer a question which contradicted a previous post, but she's smarter than that. She'd just give me one word answers, and then some of her little minions started asking me questions about what I'd done, and one of them said, what did you do? And I stated that I did 1 mg for 7 weeks, 1.5 for a couple of weeks, 2.5, and stated what I'd done, and didn't say, but without saying this is what I'd done, it was only my journey, etc. I just put what I'd done. And they saw that I was trying to prescribe a protocol, which I'm not qualified to do. But I wasn't. I was just saying. And then one person asked, how do you administer 1 mg? Because the pens start at 2.5 mg. And I just said, there are websites. Like, there's the dark web, right? Everyone knows that. You can buy, never bloody tried, but I'm sure you can buy guns and recreational drugs. Of course, there are websites where you can buy peptides, which you can administer. I'm not affiliated with any companies. I wasn't promoting any companies. I just said there are websites because I want more people to know that microdosing, or I do want more people to know that microdosing, it's very advantageous. And I didn't know how strict Meta were at the time about talking about it. So I will learn from that. I've finished sulking about it. We go again. And the goal is to educate people, but in a way that I don't get banned.
Yeah, fair. The microdosing thing, though, like it makes sense. So why did you microdose personally?
Because I had a client that, this was a different one, by the way, that did it and didn't tell me, because it's quite, and it still is, and it was even more taboo back then. This was actually last year. She did the licensed amount, and she was one of the ones that couldn't eat at all. And I thought, well, I love eating. I don't not want to eat, but I want the benefits that my other client got. So I thought, well, and I've now done my GLP-1 certification, by the way, and I do now understand more than I did at the time. Different people with, I mean, I don't believe in BMI. BMI is an awful way to measure body composition, because it doesn't measure body composition. However, it's the way they're using it. We'll go with that. People with different body fat percentages, let's say, have different hormonal panels. So I understand why a person with higher body fat percentage would need a bigger dose, even though everything else I said before I believe in, and as I said, I've tested the theory, and it's a strong theory. But if someone that's 35% body fat needs 2.5 mg according to the license, then I tried 1 mg and it worked, and I got all of the good effects without any of the bad side effects. So I ran with it.
You just mentioned your female client. Is there a difference between how men and women should approach GLP-1 medications? Because women's hormones are a lot differently, and it impacts your appetite throughout the cycle.
Yeah, I'm so glad you asked this, because this is something else that no one's talking about. I've not even seen any providers mention this, which proves my point. Most of the providers are just trying to sell, right? There isn't a blanket rule that works for all. Every individual, every female, every cycle is different. However, physiologically, there are factors that we need to factor in when I'm working with females, with training and nutrition and recovery, even separately to GLP-1. But they're not a factor because someone's on GLP-1, right? So, of course, with you girls, there's much more going on than us lads. There are times in the month where you're more sensitive. You need more nutrients. You need more rest because you've got lots of stuff going on. So, namely, that's the menstruation phase and also the luteal phase. So, at those times, you need more nutrients. You need more rest. That's not a time to do GLP-1, not even think about nutrients. That's when you need to think about your nutrients, more so than in your follicular phase. I've not seen anyone talking about it online. But to get results that stick, that needs to be a consideration. Because to take a step back actually, if you're not nutrifying your body in those phases, then you're potentially going to mess up your cycle, and then that's going to cause other separate issues to the results that we're talking about, and make it much harder for the results to be sustainable.
Yeah, it's so interesting because I've done experiments around eating different things at different points in my cycle. I think they call it cycle syncing. And there are different foods that you can fuel your body with throughout the month. And once you're in tune with it as a woman, it's so interesting the impact it can have the following month or on your sleep or on your focus. So it would make sense that while you're taking GLP-1, that's obviously going to be another factor to consider in your cycle, but also making sure that you're getting enough nutrients and enough micronutrients and macronutrients while you're taking it. That's really important.
Yeah, which is another paradox, right? That if you're on GLP-1 and it's easy to not eat, then that's going to mess up your cycle. If you're undernourished and underfueled menstruation and luteal phase. Or you could go, I'm on GLP-1 medication, so it's easy to not eat crap, so I'm going to have the stuff that I know I need depending on the phase of the cycle you're at. So red meat if someone eats red meat, having red meat in menstruation and luteal phase, because you have and with good protein and the good fats, because you've got more calories, because you're not wanting to eat all of the chocolate.
So you can use it to your advantage as well.
Exactly. Or in your follicular phase where you don't need as much nutrients and you don't need as much rest, and you can typically go for it in training more, even when we're not talking about the more sensitive phases of the menstrual cycle. We can use it as an advantage.
So you mentioned earlier that you've got was it 9 or 11 clients?
Yeah, not yeah,
Nine.
eight or nine active clients on GLP-1 medication.
How are you using GLP-1 with each of your clients? Is it different for each of them? Is it like a tailored? Well, I'm assuming it's a tailored program.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've created a program called Results Beyond the Jab, and the program doesn't. Again, just quick disclaimer: the program doesn't prescribe people. It doesn't. They don't get GLP-1 with the medication with the program. It is built around and for people that are on it already, or that want to do it, or even people that have done it and messed it up. Results Beyond the Jab can reverse those effects. And how it does that is we use GLP-1 medication once prescribed by the proper avenues, of course, to optimize health, not just to lose weight. And that has to be the way to get results that stick. If we just think we're taking it to lose weight, it is inevitable that we will, once we come off, that we'll regain. But when paired with the program and using it as a tool, not the answer, with proper effective resistance training, getting all of the nutrients in, and installing all of the habits, again, all of the stuff that we'd usually you have to do to get results without it, even though we're on it, then we will lose weight, yes, but we'll do it in a way that improves our health, but also in a way that we not only keep the results, but carry on getting more results when we come off, or when my clients come off, I should say.
You just mentioned Results Beyond the Jab. What is that exactly?
So that is the protocol that I've designed. It is based on my journey, my experience on my personal experience on GLP-1 medication, my learnings on GLP-1 support, the qualification that I did, and all of my experience in the last 10 years of getting world-class body transformations. So it's made up of 3 pillars: the SLS training system, which is a training program which will be bespoke and tailored to the individual based on their experience, their ability, their goals. But the principles will remain the same, and the principles are optimized for people on GLP-1 medication. Second pillar is metabolic nutrition. So it's fueling the body, fueling the mind also with all of the nutrients that it needs to keep the results that we get when on GLP-1. And the habit stack framework, which really ties all this in together, because if you do the training and you eat what you're told, we can still get the results and in a good way. But if we don't install those habits as soon as someone comes off the program, then they will eventually regain. And it's split into 3 phases. So the first phase is where we get the body composition to a stage which is leaner than someone would otherwise get without GLP-1 because of everything else we've been speaking about, right? But from there, that's not the end. From there, what we then want to do, and the phase 2, is to own that new body composition. So it's always healthy to do a maintenance phase in between a diet phase, and also a muscle gaining or strength gaining phase, if that's someone's goal. So we own this new body composition. Something called homeostasis. It's like where our body's happy. Sometimes people do a cut, like you'll see this with like PTs doing bodybuilding competitions and photo shoots. They'll get super lean, and then you'll see them, and then they're fatter than when they started. They've not owned that body composition, and yes, it's not sustainable to be like I've been sub 10%. I'm not saying you have to stay there, but for most people, that's not going to be possible on their first round of GLP-1. But get to a healthy body composition, that they own that body composition. And then phase 3 is we start increasing calories incrementally, increasing nutrients and therefore calories to support building muscle and building strength and building up health after being in a calorie deficit.
And how long is that maintenance phase? Is it completely dependent on the person?
Yeah, it will depend on the person. It needs to be at least a week. We don't want it to go on too long either, though, because if the goal is, which for most people, even though we're talking about health and longevity here, most people also want to look good, of course. So if we're not getting leaner and we're not gaining muscle, if the goal isn't either one of those, not much is happening. So that phase, typically before GLP-1, would only be a week. But because we really want to own that body composition, it can be 1 to 4 weeks, depending on the person, depending on how well they've installed the habits. And that's where the online check-ins and the group calls come into it. The plan there's a system to the plan, to the protocol, but it will be modified depending on the person to ensure they've got the best opportunity to maintain those results.
Mitch, you're clearly very passionate about educating people about GLP-1 and your own journey with GLP-1 and your clients' journeys with GLP-1. What information out there is really getting on your nerves?
How long we got, William? So yeah, probably a whole new podcast. To start with, I mentioned this already, but the providers and I mentioned the doctors, not like you wouldn't go to your doctor for a training program. They know more, and I don't expect GPs to. I know they have limited time and the NHS is under strain, but they're not the providers to even educate about nutrition or about training programs. But they know the importance, like maybe they don't have the understanding that I have or other people have, but they know it's important and they're not even trying. So that gets on my tits, to be honest. The second one is there's a massive influx of these GLP-1 coaches, and a lot of them are PTs that couldn't have any results that I know of, and you'd post them if you had them, right? Didn't have any results for themselves or their clients before GLP-1, and then they did GLP-1, got a load of fat loss, and now they're saying they're GLP-1 specialists, coaches. And in my opinion, if you couldn't get results before GLP-1 medication, then you're not qualified to coach people that are on GLP-1 medication. They haven't got the knowledge or the know-how and the systems and the service to help people. Anyone can jump on GLP-1 and lose weight. There's coaches in there, they're saying exercise is important, and then they're doing bent over rows with 5 kg dumbbells in their living room saying maintain muscle. They don't understand the mechanisms of proper effective resistance training. Like they're doing a class where they're talking the whole way through a set. Like it's not enough. So yeah, just because someone's lost weight on GLP-1, I don't believe it qualifies them to coach people. As I've said a couple of times, it's you have to do everything that you would need to do without GLP-1 to keep the results that you get when on GLP-1. And these people haven't got the coaching ability to do that.
Are there coaches out there that haven't even done qualifications as well, and then they're claiming that they're GLP-1?
I don't know if they're obviously I need to post my qualification. I've been meaning to do it. It's just a really boring, unsexy post, right? Posting the qualification, but I will do, and I especially have to now because I've said it, right? Yeah. No one's even claiming to have the qualification.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's wild but that's, I mean, it's proof that what I'm saying is true, right? That they don't even understand. They don't even know they're underqualified. They've just done GLP-1 and lost some weight and gone, I can help you do the same. I'm not going to lie, right? Someone can jump on GLP-1, go on to ChatGPT and get a training program and write themselves and go, do me a training program. Like I was about to say, I probably shouldn't say this because it's going to do me out of some business, right? But they also won't. It's about so much more than that. But if you're going to go to a coach that's just done GLP-1 and lost some fat, don't pay them to do that. Get GLP-1, get training, go on to ChatGPT and get it to write you a training program and a nutrition plan, because the coaches with no results before GLP-1, they can't write a present than ChatGPT anyway.
It's almost like a fitness influencer who's just hit the genetic jackpot and they're, naturally
bang on
slim, or they have a high metabolism naturally and a low body fat percentage naturally.
Yep.
And then, they are in the 10% of people that build muscle very easily.
Yep.
They then claim that for everyone it's going to be this easy to build muscle and follow me for this massive glute growth or whatever. But that's not the case for 90% of people. That's
so bang on. And obviously a lot of them people have massive followings, so they don't care. They've got a conveyor belt of leads. They're sending people a training program which might work for some and worked for them because, as you said, the genetic elite.
Yeah.
And they don't care that it doesn't work for 90% of people because they've got a consistent conveyor belt of leads. Yeah. They've got a high churn, but they don't care because they know they've always got someone new coming through. It's slightly different to this, but the same in that some of those people aren't qualified. Some of those people don't actually understand how to get the results, and some of the GLP-1 coaches that I'm talking about don't understand to get the results. So and it's of course hard to sift through the noise on social media. I guess if you're looking for a coach, then look at the results, make sure you jump on a consultation to go through the plan and ask them proper questions about why the program is the program. If they can answer those and they have results, probably a good coach. If you gravitate to them, go with them, but don't go with someone just because they've got abs or they've lost some fat on GLP. Some people have abs or lovely bums genetically, and losing fat's easy on GLP-1 medication.
Are you excited to see some of your clients' results?
Yeah, I sure am. It's a funny one, isn't it? Because even before GLP-1, some people weren't keen on putting, like, I've got some unreal results where they're like, I'd rather you not post it. And I've, of course, would always, like I asked you, right? I've always asked people. So some people, I think, won't want people to know just because there still is that taboo and that skepticism. But I know it's more about the result than the showing it off, right? So yeah, I'm excited. We started this conversation because I want to help more people understand the proper way to do GLP-1 medication, to get results that stick and to improve their health, not just to lose weight. GLP-1 medication is a tool, not the solution. So if you took something from this, then like, subscribe, and share with a mate who needs to hear the truth. Really, thank you, shouldn't I? So if you're ready to build results that stick, then reach out. The details are in the caption. Ellie, thanks so much for coming in and asking all of the questions that people need to hear.
You're welcome. I've learned so much today myself, and it's actually made me consider maybe I'll jump on your GLP-1 program.
Results beyond the jab protocol. Sweet. No, that was good.
No, I should say that. What's it called? Results beyond the jab.
No, I think that's funny that you didn't and I did, because I'm like not naturally salesy, right? So it's like a little like pretending to be salesy, but not pretending, right? Thank you, darling.